Israel's acts are not just murderous and inhumane, they are genocidal, as the UN Commission of Inquiry and others have concluded, and as is the near consensus view across the human rights community. While the determination of Israel's international responsibility for genocide is the subject of other proceedings before this court, the risk to the right of Palestinians to be protected from acts of genocide is at issue in these proceedings. That is because the court is being asked to advise on Israel's obligations in relation to the provision of aid and other services to Gaza in the context of a binding determination by a competent organ of the United Nations, being the court itself, that there exists a real and imminent risk of irreparable prejudice to the right of Palestinians to be protected from acts of genocide, and that Israel must ensure humanitarian aid and basic services in that situation. Despite Israel's objections, there is nothing to prevent the court advising on the obligations flowing from that situation in these proceedings. On the contrary, given that what is an issue is at the very least a situation of a risk of a violation of a peremptory norm of an erga omnes nature, the court could itself risk, I quote, failing in the discharge of its judicial functions if it did not declare that there is an obligation, especially upon members of the United Nations, to bring that situation to an end, end quote, as the court underscored in the South West Africa case. In the context of what UNRWA's Commissioner General has called, I quote, one of the darkest times for our common humanity that we vowed would not happen again, end quote, the court might well consider it particularly important to remind all states again, as it did a year ago in Nicaragua versus Germany, of their international obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, as well as under other binding rules of international law.